This is my solar powered power backup system. This has four 100 amp hour batteries and one 230 amp hour battery, total of 630 amp hours connected to a 4000 watt pure sine wave inverter. This is the control panel. On this panel, I have the main switch, which is the main power cutoff switch to the inverter on the top left, then the main fuse and 5 fuses, one for each battery. On the right hand side, I have the charge controller, which is a 60 amp charge controller and a breaker box. Recently, it developed a problem. When the main switch was on, inverter was not receiving the power. This is the switch I used for this system. As you can see, this product web page says this switch is good for 275 amps. When I use the system, it's normally less than 2000 watts, although the inverter is 4000 watts. So the current draw from the batteries is usually below 200 amps. After the switch failed, here I am trying to turn the switch back and forth between on and off positions. Normally it is not this difficult, but I found something is jammed inside. So I decided to remove the switch and take a look at it inside. The screws came with the switch were not good for this board, so I used 4 deck screws to mount the switch onto this board. I did not see anything unusual on the back. Even if I removed the back cover, there was nothing strange there. The back lid was stuck onto the switch, but I didn't see anything seriously melted in terms of plastic pieces and so on. I thought it was the glue from those heat shrink insulation I used for the wire terminals. Something was definitely wrong with the switch I've been using. So I ordered this particular switch. If you can see here towards the bottom of the page, this switch is good for 600 amps, which is again well above the maximum current I would draw to the inverter from the batteries of this system. Here's the size comparison of the two switches. On the right is the new one, on the left is the old one I used in the system. So the new 600 amp compatible switch is essentially double the size of the old 275 amp maximum amperage compatible switch. I wanted to see what has happened to this switch I have been using. Again, the system was not using the maximum current all the time rated for this switch. As you can see, nothing is strange other than this kind of large gap between the base of the switch and the turning knob, which I thought was strange. It was not misaligned like that originally. And inside, again, nothing too strange, but I was not sure about that brown color stuff around the bottom terminal here. When you turn the switch, I felt it was still kind of stuck partially. It was not easily turning, and the construction is as such, you cannot see any components moving while you turn the knob. So whatever the mechanism is, it is inside. So here I am removing the 4 screws to disassemble it further and see what has gone wrong. here again you can see the brown color stuff somehow around one terminal. So after I removed the screws, the knob was turning fairly easily, and also I found one of the nuts was loose. I should have checked this prior to installation. And the other nut was not loose. These are 17 millimeter nuts. So once I loosened it, I saw that brown color stuff accumulated around the nut coming loose. They have been dried out. Now I was able to see that brown color stuff around that terminal clearly. All right, so here was the problem. So this white plastic was partially melted, and the melted material has leaked through that bottom screw to the other side. So that area was uneven, so the turning mechanism or moving mechanism was not very smooth. That's why the knob was kind of misaligned with a larger gap on one side when I saw it from outside. See, this bottom nut was kind of stuck onto that piece of plastic. So there's a copper piece there to make the connection when the knob is turned. Below that, there's a spring with that red piece of plastic, and that red piece of plastic was also melted and deformed. You can see pieces falling off, and the spring was stuck onto it. This was a serious malfunction of this power cutoff switch. This could have damaged the system, which is not a very serious issue, but the most serious would be this kind of failures causing fires. You can see those small red plastic pieces broken off from that spring holder of the assembly. What is difficult to understand is why this switch got melted when the system was operating well below the maximum amperage rating of the switch. Here's the back of the cover of the failed switch with some part numbers and certifications and so on, if you are interested. So I fixed the system by installing that new bigger 600 amp maximum rated switch. Everything works fine so far. Here's the Amazon page of that new switch again. Thank you, and see you in the next video.